Okay, so get this. Ready for a deep dive into something kind of wild?
Always. Hit me.
All right, so imagine, right? It's January 20th, 2025,
Okay, 2025. Got it.
and Donald Trump is being inaugurated for a second term.
Whoa, hold on. Second term. Didn't Bayer win in 2020?
Yep, in our reality, for sure. But we found this article, and it's like we've jumped into an alternate timeline.
Alternate timeline, huh? I'm intrigued. Where's this article from?
It's from a Spanish news site, Informativos Telecinco, and they're reporting on Trump's second inauguration like it's really happening today.
Fascinating. What's their take? Like, is it serious news or are they playing with the idea?
It's a little hard to tell, honestly. The article's titled Las primeras medidas de Donald Trump tras jurar su cargo como presidente. Basically, it's all about what Trump's doing right out of the gate for his second term.
So what kind of world are we looking at in this alternate 2025?
Well, according to this article, Trump's got a ton of cash thanks to some unexpected supporters. Tech giants.
That's wild. I thought Silicon Valley and Trump were like constantly at odds.
Right? Me too.
Huh.
It's one of the most surprising things in this whole piece. But that's not all. He's also planning to shut down the U.S.-Mexico border, shake up the military, and shrink the government big time.
Okay, lot to unpack there. Let's dive in. What's the article say about his immediate priorities?
Immigration seems to be top of the list. He's all set to sign executive orders for closing the border and mass deportations.
Wow. Those are some seriously bold moves, especially right off the bat. I mean, how feasible is that really? Closing the border entirely. Mass deportations.
Right. Think of the legal battles, the logistics, the sheer chaos, not to mention the economic and social fallout. It's mind-boggling.
Absolutely. And what about internationally? What does the article say about Trump's approach to the rest of the world in this second term?
Well, there's this big focus on ending the war in Ukraine.
That's a huge decision with massive implications. A sudden U.S. withdrawal would leave a huge power vacuum. It could embolden Russia, completely reshape alliances. It's a recipe for instability, at least in the short term.
Definitely a global game changer. Okay, so back to this crazy detail about tech giants bankrolling Trump. Any theories on what led to this alternate reality bromance?
It's definitely the biggest head scratcher in this whole thing. I mean, did the GOP and the tech industry somehow find common ground? Did Trump's policies change? Or maybe, just maybe, there's something else going on entirely that we're not seeing.
Like what? Some secret backroom deal. Alien mind control.
Hey, in an alternate timeline, anything's possible. But seriously, it makes you think, what would be the trade-offs? Would tech giants get deregulation in exchange for their support? What would that mean for innovation, for privacy, for the future of the internet as we know it?
Ooh, yeah. And speaking of the future, the article also mentions Trump's plans to supercharge the AI industry.
Right, like a massive investment in AI development. Now, imagine that alongside cuts to diversity programs in the military. What kind of AI would we end up with? What biases would be baked in? Would it be this super advanced tech, but with a really narrow, potentially problematic worldview?
That's a chilling thought. AI reflecting the biases of, well, let's just say a not-so-diverse group of developers. And it's not just AI in the military. The article also talks about Trump's plan to drastically shrink the government.
Yeah, essentially a massive downsizing of the bureaucracy. It's a classic conservative goal, smaller government, but the devil's in the details, right? Could lead to more efficient government, sure, but also less oversight, weaker regulations, cuts to essential services.
It's a trade-off, for sure. And it really hits home when you start thinking, okay, if I were living in this alternate 2025, what would all this mean for my day-to-day life? Would I feel safer, more secure? Would I even recognize the country I live in?
Big questions. And remember, we're just looking at one source here, one tiny window into this alternate reality. But it definitely makes you think about the choices we make, both individually and as a society, and how they can ripple out in ways we never expect.
Totally. So to everyone listening, we want to know, what would be the biggest change in your life if this Trumpian second term were reality? What opportunities would you seize? What challenges would you face?
And hey, maybe this sparked your interest in alternate realities. There's got to be a ton of interesting perspectives out there. Maybe check out some other Spanish language news to see how they're covering this whole thing.
Great idea. Who knows what other wild scenarios are playing out in the media landscape? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into a world that could have been. Keep exploring, keep thinking critically, and remember, reality is a lot more fluid than we sometimes realize.